Hey nerds. I want to talk about Star Trek today. I've talked a lot about the science of Star Trek in a lot of different videos. I tend to drop myself back to warp drive quite frequently, but just because it's something that I just think is really cool and I really like. But there's a lot of discourse online about, people have a lot of dislike for Alex Kurtzman, and there's a lot of stuff that we see a lot where people are not happy about the direction that the franchise has taken, and people are not happy about the products that get put out there. And I just want to talk about differing perspectives, different adaptations of stories, and the progress of our relationship with media that we love. Now, if you're new here, hi, my name is Abby. I'm a physicist. On my channel, Pop Culture Scientist, I like to talk about the science of science fiction, and the science and pop culture in general, just to try to help explain and break down complicated topics. But I like to talk about it through the lens of sci-fi because I do think that there is a very lovely symbiotic relationship through the history of science and science fiction that elevates our understanding of science and what's happening in research, because we connect so well with these topics through something that we love and these ideas of these futuristic societies and technology. So I just thought it'd be nice to just do some more casual videos where I can just kind of ramble on about my thoughts about stuff. I'm not trying to be a reviewer. I just want to be clear on that. My friend got me this mug years ago. Shout out to Megan. Says if a girl wants to be a legend, she should go ahead and be one. Calamity Jane quote. I just realized you couldn't see it, which is sad. Really, everyone should see it. Okay, Star Trek. So, the thing that I find fascinating, and the thing that I want people to think about before people start raging about your feelings about current products, or why you think it's terrible, or why you think it's gone the wrong direction, or why you hate it so much, I want us to remember a few things. I want us to remember that when Star Trek first came out, it wasn't universally loved, the original series, and how people, just thought it was such an unserious and ridiculous show. And I mean, has anyone seen Galaxy Quest? I mean, if you're a Star Trek fan, come on, you have to have seen Galaxy Quest. But the whole joke in Galaxy Quest is about Alan Rickman's character being a Shakespearean actor who has come to do the science fiction show. It's basically a riff on Patrick Stewart doing Jean-Luc Picard. This idea that people just looked down on science fiction, and people do still tend to, I think at times, look down on science fiction as it not being serious, which is wild to me. But what I think about at the time is, so basically I'm just trying to say, remember what the opinion was at the time and think about what your opinion of the original series is now. And then remember when TNG started and that came out, how much people disliked Picard, how much people disliked that show, because the fans of the original series were like, this is ridiculous, he's too different from Kirk, it's not right, it's wrong, it's like, and all of the stuff that went on then. So I grew up watching TNG, right? That was the first one I ever saw that I was alive for, and I wasn't that bothered by it. I was maybe a bit too young at the time. So Voyager was the first one that I fully engaged with from start to finish on my own, that I was like, this is my thing and I'm going to watch it. And then I remember when Enterprise came out, right? Everyone hated Enterprise. Everyone was like, this is the worst thing that has ever been made. Now, there's things about Enterprise I really like, and there's things I really don't like. I hate their Mirror Universe episodes. I think it is insanely sexist, and I cannot deal with the costume decisions. And to be honest with you, I don't particularly like Archer as a captain, and I don't like how it ended. But that's my personal opinion, and other people will love Enterprise, and other people will love TNG, and some people will hate Voyager. But my point is that we've had this experience with these shows at each iteration that they've come out. The thing that's different now is that Enterprise came out in 2001, and that was before our interaction with social media. So after that, we had the J.J. Abrams movies, which I really liked. I really, really liked that whole concept of let's go into a parallel alternate universe of the history of this show, where you can explore the characters but have them be slightly different and have them and go into different situations without it just being like a direct reboot or remake of the original. I thought it was great. I loved it. I thought it was a great way to do it and to bring a new audience and to bring it a modern vision to Star Trek. Now, beyond that, then we suddenly started to have a lot more streaming services and a lot more of this idea of shorter season shows, right? And from that, it's meant that we've gotten all of this whole new input of different Star Trek shows. And so we've had Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Picard, Lower Decks, Prodigy, and Academy. And if I'm missing one there, I'm sorry. But what I have failed to understand throughout all of this is the level of vitriol and the level of aggression that people have towards not liking things. What I find fascinating is that people seem to have lost the ability to just think, this isn't for me, I don't enjoy this show. People expect that because you like one Star Trek show, that means you are supposed to like everything. Now, I want to say that the exact same thing has happened with Marvel, and I think it's kind of happened a bit with DC too, and it has happened with something else that I cannot remember what it is that I'm thinking of, but we can move on. So the reason I bring it up like this is because I just think that what happens is we forget about our relationship with the show, what it means, what that relationship means, and how that relationship progresses over time, and what that means when new products in the same franchise come out. So when we watch something that we really connected with, like Voyager for me, if I watch Voyager now, I don't particularly think that it was as good as I thought at the time, but I have a nostalgic connection to it. And I have an emotional connection to it for how it made me feel. Star Wars is the other one. Star Wars is the other one. People get super weird about Star Wars. So that emotional and nostalgic connection is really important, because what that does is it creates a link to a specific product and a feeling that we have with that specific product. And then when you get another iteration of it, or when you get a different version of it, we get mad and angry when it's not the same thing, when it doesn't give you the same emotional connection, the same feeling, or when it doesn't evoke what you think it should, or if it takes a direction that you disagree with. You want it to be the thing that it always was for you. But we forget that our personal experience is subjective and it's different for everyone. So your experience with it is very different to my experience with it. So you might want it to go in a certain direction because you think that that's what it should be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it is for everyone. Now, I see a lot of people say that, I see a lot of people say, I got into a few arguments with some people on Threads recently because I said that I was really tired of seeing all of this hatred and this vitriol towards Kurtzman, and I was really tired of people's aggression towards the new generation of Star Trek, and the way that people seem to feel validated in their argument about it by things being cancelled. Now, I don't really think that the online cohort of aggression and anger can be directly linked to cancellation of things like Academy and Discovery, because I actually just think that the reality is that we live in a different time now. I think COVID accelerated our online lives. Think about it. How online were you in 2018 versus how online you are now? How much time do you spend at home now in a device versus what you might have spent in 2018? I know I went out a hell of a lot more in 2018 than I do now, and it's not just because I've gotten older and I prefer to sit at home and drink tea. The truth is that we have so much more option now. You know, COVID made TikTok really big, and a lot of people started making their own content. So a lot of people actually spend a lot of time on their phones now watching videos, content online. A lot of people are spending a lot more time watching YouTube videos than they used to. And we have so many streaming services. So I don't think that the online negativity from certain corners of the fandoms are the reason specifically why there's not going to be another season of Academy. I think that maybe they just didn't get the viewership that they wanted. And I don't think the viewership wasn't there because people saw all the negativity and didn't bother watching it. I'm sure there is some sort of an aspect to that, but I think it's just more a case of that a lot of us just are watching a bunch of other stuff at the moment and we just haven't gotten to it yet, or maybe it's just not on your radar because there's other things that you're watching. We have so much choice right now that it's really hard to keep up with everything. And companies and streaming companies are just less inclined to bank on something these days unless they feel like you're going to watch it, whereas a lot of us wait until the full seasons come out before we watch stuff. It's a catch-22 thing. I mean, it's the reason I cancelled Netflix ages ago, because they cancelled Chaos when it had only been out for like a couple of weeks. It's just like, I can't believe you did that. The only TV channel or a studio that I fully have a lot of faith in is Apple TV, because they just seem to put their faith behind their shows, and they seem to be willing to give us the complete story no matter what, for the most part. Some stuff has been cancelled, of course, but you know, we're still on multiple seasons of shows that people don't seem to have a huge amount of interest in, but they are still giving us, because they're giving the people who have invested in those shows the complete story, and that's all we want, and that is what breeds loyalty. So that was my little rant about that. So coming back to Star Trek and the online aggression and hatred and what I think is happening, I think there's two things happening. I don't think that the viewpoints that people have when they're being really negative about it, I don't think that they're fair. And I think that they are heightened by rage bait. And I think that they are heightened by a lack of our ability to grow or to understand how we grow with media. So the first one is the most obvious one, because it comes from content creation and monetization. So now that we have the ability, and everyone can make, I'm sitting here making my video for you right now, we all do this, we all make our own videos and we all put them out there. And because we do that, what ends up happening, or because we do that, and then because monetization gets put on as an added factor, people tend to try to cultivate and curate their content into it being as algorithmic friendly as possible. And the truth about the algorithm is that it will heighten things that are emotionally responsive. So people have an emotional response to things when it is rage bait, when it is negative, when it is people shouting and roaring and complaining, because you get both sides of things. You get the people, like somebody just saying, oh, I loved this. You'll get a few people jumping in saying like, well, I thought it was stupid. But for the most part, people will just ignore it. If you have someone saying, I hated this and here's why, then you have the people who loved it to defend it. And you have the people who hated it going, yeah, and they jump on like the mob train because it gets you emotionally heightened. And that's the point of all of this, or the point of the algorithm. It recognizes that then as valuable. So that's why rage bait and all of these angry guys on YouTube shouting about things gets pushed so much further than anything else. So we see that content more. It's not that the positive views don't exist, it's just that we see the negative ones more because that's what gets pushed more by the algorithm, and that's what people make more of because it's monetizable. They make money off it, basically. It's not that there are more people, but it does that. It gives us this twisted view, this twisted idea that it means that there are more people that have a negative view on it than there are positive, just because we see it. But that's in this like small ecosystem, in this small little bubble. The majority of people out there living their lives in the world are not online. They're not online shouting about TV shows. They're not engaging in social media. They're not really, I can't tell you how many people do not spend time on here. Like, you don't realize just how many people are just watching the show and then going about their lives. So it's a false idea that we have that there's this overarching viewpoint. It's not real. It's just based on what the algorithm shows you, based on what you interact with. So you're seeing a very cultivated segment of the internet. I see it because I interact with it, because I defend it, because I get annoyed at seeing all the negative stuff. And it's a vicious cycle. It's my own fault. I need to stop that. But the second point that I have is the main point that I want to make, and that's about our growth with media and our understanding of how things change. Now, we are in a time where things are very different for us, particularly for maybe like someone who's like me, who's a millennial, where we grew up with certain things, or like our parents grew up with certain things, and like that was the movie, and you watch that and it's nostalgia. And then your parent, like at Christmas, you might sit down with your parents, you might watch that movie that they loved when they were kids, and you get to know that movie. There's these things that are very iconic and individual, and you have your initial reaction, your first time, your memory from the first time you watched it, whether you went to the cinema or whether it was that you sat down with your mom or your dad because they wanted to show you their favorite movie or their favorite show. You have a connection to it that is very personal to you. When you grow up, your moods change, your attitudes to life and the world around you change, how you relate to media changes, and how you think, what you think is good and bad media changes, right? But your connection to that original show that you saw might stay exactly as it was because you have that nostalgia and that emotional connection. So when you see a new product, when like the new Star Wars movies came out, or when we get a new Star Trek show, people tend to have a very negative response to it because you go into it expecting to have the same experience that you had with the original one, but you can't. You can very rarely will you have that same experience because of how you have interacted with the media and how you have grown and changed and how your viewpoints have changed. Now, I find that my interactions with it don't change that much. I find that I can actually still have really positive and really good interactions with all of it because I go in on the expectation that it's going to be different. I go in on the expectation that it's not going to be the same. I'm not going to have that same nostalgic experience that I had the first time around. It's going to be something new, and I'm open and ready for something new. But that's because I just think I have an approach to adaptations that it took me a while to get to, where I just felt like it's a different telling of the story. It's a different person's perspective on the story. There's writers and actors and producers who all have a new idea on how this should be portrayed. And we live in a world where the technology has changed, and how we understand the universe and science has changed, and how we interact with people has changed. So all of that is going to get fed into the new product that we're given. A lot of people don't seem to have the ability to have that approach or to grow with it in a way that makes them feel like they can appreciate it when you get that new iteration. And the biggest complaint that seems to happen is the complaint about wokeness. Now, I don't know why we're using woke as if it's a bad word, like it's ridiculous. It's a good thing. I mean, to be woke is a good thing. To be awake to society and to how society affects people in different ways, and to be able to show diversity the way that our world is diverse, and to be able to celebrate people for being different is a wonderful thing. But a lot of people want people to conform. They want society to remain kind of uniform and segregated, and everyone stay in their lane and stick with the status quo and do all of this kind of stuff, which is just so completely dull. And it's so the antithesis of what Star Trek ever was when it even started in the first place. So it's a really weird argument that people bring. And I think that the reason people are using that specific argument is not about them actually assessing the media. They're not looking at it and thinking critically about it and coming up with logical arguments and conversations about it. They're just looking at it and they're reacting emotionally in a way that either satisfies them in the moment because of their own prejudices and their own lack of understanding of what science fiction is and what Star Trek stands for, or it's because it's an intentional reaction in order to fuel rage and to drive engagement. So whether they're doing it in their own video, or whether they're farming in the comment section because they're just bored at home and they just want people to interact with them and they get off on making people angry, I don't know. It's a pointless argument to make. It's a stupid argument to make. So when I say that I'm tired of seeing the negativity, it's not that I'm tired of seeing people's opinions. It's not that I'm saying that you can't have a negative opinion, that you can't just decide you didn't like the writing or you didn't like the acting or you didn't like the story. What I don't think makes sense is that you think that it shouldn't exist because you didn't like it, or that you think that they did something wrong by creating it. Because in having that attitude and that opinion, all you're saying really is that you need everything to cater specifically to you, and you don't understand that you're a different person than everyone else. And that we all deserve to have shows and things that we connect with, and that other people should be able to have their first experience with Star Trek the way that you had your first experience with Star Trek. And that doesn't mean that you get to have that first experience with every single iteration of it that comes out. You're not going to. You've grown, you've changed. How you watch things has changed. How you feel about the world has changed. And how shows are made has changed. And you might not like that, but the reality is you still have your original. You still have your first moment. But what I don't understand is why you're trying to take that away from somebody else because you just don't think that it's good, or because you don't think that other people deserve to have that connection. It's weird. So I want to say, from all of that, as somebody who, like I said, my first iteration of Star Trek was TNG. I am obviously too young to have been alive for TOS, but I was there for TNG. And so I have been there for every iteration of Star Trek from TNG onwards. And I can tell you with absolute supreme confidence that my favorite Star Trek show ever made is hands down, without a doubt, Discovery. And I will say with my full chest that the best Star Trek captain of all of them is Captain Burnham. And I have absolutely no shame in saying that. And the thing is, that will make some of you angry. And if it makes you angry, I want you to take a moment before you comment and think for a second about why that makes you angry. Why does me loving a show that you didn't think was worthwhile and me loving a captain that you don't think is good enough, why would that make you angry? Why would my opinion and my enjoyment and my connection to a show affect you in any way that should make it so that you need to tell me that it's terrible and awful and you hated it? Why do you feel the need to have such a negative response to something just because you don't personally enjoy it? Now, most people who interact with my stuff, we have great conversations about things that like you like or you don't like, or you understand or you don't understand, and we can come back and forth with it in a very respectful manner. But sometimes when I do talk about certain things, people do get very emotional about it. And I just think that it's something that we really need to start regulating better. And we really need to stop allowing people to make money off being overly aggressive about this stuff so that we are constantly bombarded with negativity. It's really affecting when you're looking at something that you love and you enjoy so much and you can't even express, I love this, without someone having to come at you with negativity. Like, why do we do that? We don't really do that in person with people. We just accept that people are different and we like different things and we all say that's okay, that's fine. So why is there a need to just go, no, you're not allowed to like that because I thought it was terrible? It's like, I don't get it. I just think that this current attitude that we have where every time something new comes out, it's like I feel apprehensive about it. Like I feel this genuine like little in my stomach every time I see something new is coming out, whether like something from Marvel or Star Wars or Star Trek, because I know that the internet is going to get flooded with negativity, flooded with people griping and moaning and complaining and shouting and ranting. And that's not the same as just having a negative review. You can have a negative review. Like I said, you can very easily come online and you can very easily just say, I don't like the way it was written. I didn't like the style of it. Personally, you know, I personally did not enjoy it, but I think other people will, or I think it will suit this group of people. Have at it and have your first experience and enjoy it and love it. But this desire to take it down, this desire to rant and rage, this desire to be like, Alex Kurtzman needs to be fired, he needs to be gotten rid of, he's driven it into the ground, he's ruined it, he's destroyed it. Those voices are louder than everyone else's, but that does not mean that they are the majority of the voices of the people who love these products. Okay, so I did not intend for this video to be very long. It's supposed to be just a short, quick little review about my ideas, but I guess I had quite a bit to say about that, and I'm sure I have more to say about it, but I am going to stop talking now. I just want to end with just saying that I think that there are certain shows that have come out recently that I have absolutely loved, like Discovery and Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. And there are shows that have come out that I've been not as interested in and either haven't watched or I just didn't really enjoy them. And that's fine. It's okay. Like, it's okay for me to not enjoy something, but I don't feel the need to tear down anyone else or take away their enjoyment from it. And I think that they've been doing an incredible job bringing Star Trek into like the modern day, following along with all of this new technology and this new science and this new understanding of the world. And I particularly love the stuff that is set far, far in the future so that we get like this entirely new vision and new version of what possibly could happen in terms of science and technology, which Star Trek has always centered alongside the human story and the understanding of a unified, tolerant, kind, and thoughtful society that understands that everyone has their right to be an individual and to live and experience safety and harmony in the world and across all of the worlds out there. So, I'm Abby. I'm a Star Trek fan, and I would love if you would flood the comments with positivity and excitement about your favorite Star Trek shows and moments and characters and things that you absolutely loved. I have so many, but I don't have time to get into all that right now. I gotta go. So thanks for hanging out with me and stay nerdy. Oh, what am I watching? Sorry, I realized that I've ended the book ones I've done. I've ended with like, what am I currently reading? So I should say what I'm watching. I am actually on a rewatch of TNG. I'm currently watching Red Dwarf because I hadn't seen the final few seasons, and I have 3 episodes left on Red Dwarf, and then I've completed Red Dwarf for now. I say for now because I feel like they will probably come back again at some point, maybe. I do want to watch some old stuff that I kind of haven't seen before, so if you have any TV show recommendations that you think that I should watch. And I am waiting for what's coming up. 3 things that are coming up this year. We're going to have season 2 of 3 Body Problem, which I will do a re-summary thing of season 1 and all the science and my main science content stuff. I will be talking at some point about Neuromancer because Apple TV are doing Neuromancer, but they still haven't said when it's coming out. And the 3rd thing is the 3rd season of Silo as well. I really wish they would give us actual release dates for these things in a reasonable time frame, you guys, so I can plan accordingly. Anyway, that's where we're at for right now. Thanks for watching. Bye.